Module 6 is all about how we can use our flows to process on a time basis using scheduled triggers and scheduled actions. So we're going to have a look at the scheduled data connector. We're going to see the trigger that's in there that we can use, and there are scheduled actions that we can perform that allow us to time not only the start of the flow, but when certain actions should occur within it. So the recurrence trigger is used to create a series of intervals from which you can then start running the flow. And this would be ideal for my pending items, and the idea of that is to go and get all the items that have been marked for approval and require me to go and order that stationery. Let's have a look at that. So if I go into my list of flows, there's my pending items, and I'm going to edit that one. Instead of a manually triggered flow, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that and replace it with a timer. So I'm going to delete that trigger. In its place, I'm now going to go and look for the schedule. There it is, and the recurrence schedule. So I would like this to run once every week. And then in the advanced options, I can specify the time of the week that I want it to run. So I'm going to say, let's mark that from Greenwich Mean Time. I would like this to start around the 17th of April. So 04-17 time, let's do this for 12 p.m. midday. Okay, and I'll put the Zulu at the end. And then this is to be, again, run. I've already specified the Friday date, but the idea is I could actually start that from any date, and the scheduled timer will start, but it won't actually fire, the trigger won't fire until the date I've specified in the tick box. So if I started that from today's date, Wednesday, it would kick off, but the actual trigger wouldn't fire until the Friday. And then, as I said, at these hours, 12 o'clock p.m. With 0 minutes, and that's the recurrence that I would like it to repeat every week. Okay, so it says preview runs at 12 p.m. on Friday every week, starting from that date and time that I've put at the beginning, and runs on the very first occurrence of Friday, 12 p.m. from that date. There you go. Wasn't that just magic? And I can specify different elements of frequency, so I could have said every hour, and naturally whatever I put in there, it's going to start from the very first hour beyond the date and time that I've set in the start time, and so on and so forth. So you can just choose very quick and easy how you want your recurrence to be managed. You've also got two schedule actions that you can then use to pause the flow at any point, and then either fire at a certain date and time, or after a certain amount of time. So you've got the delay, which pauses the flow for a period of time, and then you've got the delay until pauses the flow until a specific time. So I'll give you an example of why I actually do this in real life. I have now got a Power Automate that every weekend deletes all our old site collections that we do for SharePoint courses over the weekend, and then will automatically create new ones. But when you create the new ones, it takes a while for it to build, and then after that happens, I need to put in some links in the top link bar. I need to specify who the site collection administrators are and who the members are. So I'd rather have the site completely built, and I normally do this overnight, and then have it run at a particular period of time with the rest of the work. So I use a delay, and I have it delay for around about 12 hours. So whatever time that I do the building, I know the total building takes about 4 or 5 hours to do. I've got to make sure I give ample amount of time. 12 hours is more than enough, and that happens over midnight, and at midnight all the rest of the work's done. By the time I come in the next morning, all the sites are pretty much built. Just don't tell QA, because they think I'm sitting there at a keyboard typing those in. I'm kidding, not really. But this is a very useful feature. Let's give an example within this pending items where I've got all the data from the SharePoint list. Now this could be a huge amount, so I'm thinking let's not try and overcrowd. There could be a lot of delays. Let's delay the actual process. So once we've got the items, we give it about 10 minutes and then it starts feeding through the items and working with them. So I'm going to add an action here using the schedule. There we go. And what I'm going to say is I would like to actually delay this by a certain amount of time. So I'm going to say I would like to specify, let's say 60 minutes. Once you've got all the items, or once you've started the action to get the items, let's wait 60 minutes and gathered, and then we can then proceed to process the information. The other option, as you saw there, was instead of the delay, there's the delay until. So if I display the same principle, get all the items, and then maybe I've got to get some work done with that, whatever the case is, and then let's say tomorrow I would like to do the rest of the work. So I'd like to pause this until the next day. So I'm going to use the schedule again, but this time with the delay until action. So instead of specifying a period of time to elapse, I want a fixed date or time to be triggered. So the problem is, as you can see, it's asking for a timestamp. As we know that those timestamps are sort of the year, the date, the month, the date, and then the time, blah, blah, blah. Now this is a fixed date and time. So this would only run once, and then next time the flow occurs, that date will be in the past. I need something dynamic. I need something that will always operate. So a clever little trick, as an example, would be to say, let's get the delay until to be tomorrow. So what I want to do is I want to add another variable that would take today's date and add a day. So I'm going to give this a name, stamped date, because I can't think of any other name. Let's call that str stamped date, and turn that into a string, which is what dates work better with, and then go into the value there, and I'm going to do an expression that says add days. So there's a function here, or sorry, an expression called add days, and in there I'm going to say grab today's date, which is the UTC now, and then there's another argument, comma, that then specifies the number of days to add on to that. So I'm going to say 1, comma, and then it's saying this is optional. I can actually specify the format. Now if I don't specify a format, it's going to put it into the typical date timestamp that I'm looking for. So I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to click OK, and that will now give me a stamp date for this time tomorrow. That then is what I'm going to grab in the delay until, and so just pause here until that add days stamp date has been reached. Once that's done, tomorrow the rest of my flow will run on, and there you go. So I would love to run that and then pause the video for an entire 24 hours and then replay it back, but I'm not going to do that. It's just an example, just using the 2 actions within our schedule point. So a relatively quick module covering the schedule date connector, and then looking at the one trigger called recurrence and the 2 schedule actions that allow you to delay and delay until.